but we're not swinging the golf club in the direction we want the ball to go. Most people make that mistake. They try and swing in the direction they want the ball to go, and they set up square, and by the time they get to the golf ball, the path's not square, the club face isn't square. It feels square and we've set up square, but it's not square, and we get curvature. Just doing a bit of practice. Got my alignment stick parallel to my target, got my putter face, my club face square to the target. Just get myself square, shoulders, hips, knees, toes. Remember those tram lines? There we go. Right, all perfect. Oh, never mind, must be my setup. Just start again. Club face, that's it. Grip, stance, aim, posture, off we go. Here we go. Just make sure that alignment sticks straight. Yeah, that's parallel. I don't know what could be going wrong. I've got everything right. I've got my club face pointing at the target. I've got my body square to the target line. I've got those parallel lines. My grip's good. Everything's square. Square back, square through. Look at that. Oh, look at that. Well, there's something I'm missing. We see this every day. It's a curving ball. This is a right to left putt. But what I'm doing here is something that I see day in, day out, and it's completely unintentional because it's the way we've been trained, where we become a bit detached from the real important variables like ball flight, curvature, which here is a right to left putt. So I've set the green stage right to left, but we wouldn't normally putt like this on a right to left putt. We wouldn't putt aiming at the hole, standing square, checking our grip and stance or square to the target. We'd be aiming away from the hole because we've read the environment and we know this ball's going to curve. So we've set up with the intention of swinging the club in the direction to allow for that curvature. Boom. So we started right, drew into the hole, essentially. Now, whether this is a putt or a full swing is irrelevant. If we play a shot that's got curve on, we need to set up to allow for that start line right or left of the target. So why don't we aim straight and try and play straight? Well, what I'm going to do is just set the green stage back to level. We'll talk about margin for error. We'll talk about why it's beneficial to curve the ball. I'd ask you a question. What do you think the most difficult putt in golf is? A lot of people would say, and look, I wouldn't disagree. A downhill left to righter, it's a bit of a knee knocker, but probability-wise, the most difficult putt in golf is a straight one. And that's because the capture size of the hole is the only affordance we've got to hold the putt. So a straight putt affords us this margin for error. Anything outside of that, which is travelling away, is going to miss it. As soon as we introduce break, it suddenly starts to afford us more options because I can hit it firmer or softer and I can use the break more. What I've got now is a bigger capture size. In putting terms, capture diameter, but in golfing terms, this could be a draw for a right-hander. And now we've got an opportunity to hit on multiple different lines. If I'm just missing my line, I'm not going to be too far away. If I just miss this side a fraction, if I start it a bit straight, I'm just going to be missing slightly to the left. If I start it too far right, I might be missing out here, but I'm not too far away from my original target, my intended target. If I try and aim straight and this ball starts slightly offline and I'm hitting straight, it's gone. Okay. If it fades, it's even worse. So I've got balls that are moving away from my target. But if I've got a predictable shape, suddenly now I'm increasing the probability of that ball landing in or close to the area I want. And in golf, proximity is key. People call this dispersion. This is going to give us our maximum opportunity, okay, to get as close as possible to that intended target. If I'm hitting a full shot, we know it's about face and path. And so what we need to do with our practice is attune ourselves to those tolerances, to that face path relationship. So let's have a look at what we can do. If I use an alignment tool on the club and an alignment stick, just to demonstrate what is actually happening that creates curvature, we can start to appreciate these two variables. So wherever the club face is pointing when we strike the ball, that is the initial direction the ball launches. And then the curvature is dictated by the swing path in relation to that club face alignment. So, for example, if we're swinging in this direction, at impact, that ball is going to fly in the direction that club face is pointing. That's where it's going to start. But if my club's swinging in this direction, then that ball now is going to curve in this direction. That's a draw. So now we've got the ball curving to the left, starting in this direction where the club face is pointing and curving to the left. The bigger the gap between the path and the face, the bigger the amount of curve we get. And as that path gets greater to the right, that means the club face in relation to that path is even more closed. So do we have a sense of what this feels like at impact? What's it feel like to have a face that's close to the path? What's it feel like to have a path that's to the right? Now if we take that in the opposite direction, a fade, we've got a club face pointing in the direction we want the ball to start. Now for a fade that should be left of target, and something I often see is people have an open face, but open face to the target, so it's actually pointing right of target to try and play a fade. Now this face biased fade is probably going to start the ball too far to the right, and you're probably going to increase the loft, increase the spin, and quite often I get asked, does a fade go shorter than a draw? And the answer is no. Both should go the same because we should be presenting the same loft. We're just presenting the club on a different path. So what does it feel like to swing the club left on that path with a face that's open? The more fade we want, the further left the path needs to be in relation to the face. So this is quite a different feel, a very different feel in comparison to the draw. Very different face orientations in relation to the path. Very different wrist orientation. The club's only doing what the wrists are doing, and so it's our sense of that wrist motion that really is our attunement to the club face. This will be a closed face to the path, and it's going more and more closed. This will be more and more open. Okay, if the path didn't change, but we can also change the path. So there's two variables here at play. I mean, there's also angle of attack as well, but we're not going to go into angle of attack, but that does play a part. And I've covered that in other videos, and I will do more on that because that does influence the path, of course. But for this video, we're focusing on just the sense of the club face and that path, the arc it's swinging on. We can do a simple drill where we just explore these paths. And it's a very simple figure eight drill. We're swinging the club and making figure eights. And you can straight away see what this path would be. This would be that draw. And this path, if I reverse the direction, this path would be the fade, moving to the left. Now we can move the body to facilitate the swinging of the club. So if I want to feel the fade path, I can just swing the club back and forth now in this direction and move my body around. I can then hold the finish, bring the left hand in, and get a sense of where that takes me to. Now I can sense the finish. And then I can swing back and through to that finish. So I can get a sense of the orientation of my body, which may be confused with alignment. We're not aligning to a target, we're just moving the body around to facilitate the arc we need for that curvature on the ball. We don't want to be trying to hold the club and manipulate it for a fade or for a draw, and we want to let this thing swing freely. So we need the path first and foremost. Once we've got the path, we can start to play around with the face. That ball's going to tell us everything. But what I'm recognising is where that arc takes me to and what this release feels like. So I'm starting to attune myself to that release pattern. And then we can start to expand the swing. So we start off maybe 3/4, 75% speed, so it's a realistic distance, but we can feel what's happening. We can have some sense of awareness with what we're doing. So now we move around to the draw. So we take that figure eight and we go the other way. So I feel that draw, that figure eight, and then I'm going to hold the finish. And you can see, look, the club face is pointing down. It's already rotated. just to enable me to swing the club in this direction. It's rotated. I can put my left hand on now and swing the club back and forth to that place, and I can move my body around. So now I'm starting to feel how I need to position my body to make this swing as easy as possible. And now I've got a draw release, and the club face is rotating, and it's rotating on its path. So now I'm creating that face path relationship for the draw naturally, and where this swing takes me to. So I can feel the finish, and then I can start to swing back and through, and then expand the swing, and then we've got the draws. So let's hit a couple of fades and a couple of draws. I'm going to feel the fade first, so I'm going to make the figure 8 in this direction. I'm going to move around. I can really feel the direction I'm swinging this club. I can sense that fade arc. It might be exaggerated at first, that's fine. So I'm going to set up around here, face slightly open, so I can feel the direction I'm going to swing, and just sense the direction I'm swinging. Ball's moving away from me towards the intended target. So it started left, moved towards the target, and I'm finishing further left than where my face was pointing at address. It's a closed face to target. Most people have that face open, as I mentioned earlier, but actually we want the face close to target because we want the ball starting left, which means your path's got to be even further left than the club face, and that is quite a long way left. On the flip side, we've got the draw, so I'm going to feel the figure 8 for the draw, and I'm starting to feel that rotation of the arms. I can start to feel that face closing to the path, so by the time I get to the golf ball, that face is going to be closed in relation to the direction it's swinging. If that face is kind of square, ball's going to probably go straight. Remember, we're not swinging the golf club in the direction we want the ball to go. Most people make that mistake. They try and swing in the direction they want the ball to go, and they set up square, and by the time they get to the golf ball, the path's not square, the club face isn't square. It feels square, and we've set up square, but it's not square, and we get curvature, and it's curvature away generally from the target. But if we set up intentionally to the right or to the left, and we can feel that draw or that fade arc, we've now got a much better chance. I'm not saying it's going to be perfect, but we've got a much better chance now. We're stacking the odds in our favour that we've got a ball that's going to curve predictably and starting away and moving towards the target. So for the draw, feeling that figure 8 swing, getting a sense of where this place, where is this draw space, and then swinging back and through to that place, and then moving around the ball to facilitate it, and then taking the set up. That was a draw. I want to start it a bit further left, to be fair, so I'm either going to sense a little bit more rotation through the shot, or I could start with the face slightly more closed. They're options. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to feel a little bit more rotation, but that's only because I've done this a lot, I've practiced, and it's a release I'm comfortable with. If I close the face, I know personally I might start introducing unwanted hooks, but you're going to find the best way for you. We're all different, we all play these shots differently. So I'm going to set up and just feel a bit more of a draw release. Now this doesn't mean I'm trying to manipulate it, quite the opposite. I'm using that sequence, that free flowing swing, and just sensing that face slightly more close to impact. So it started a bit further left, and it's a stronger draw, that's all. The first one was just a slight draw, second one started a bit further to the left, drew a bit more because the direction of the swing was the same as the previous one, it's just I'd closed the face a bit more at impact, so it started a bit further left, gap between face and path was a bit bigger, so I got a bit more draw. So this is how we practice and attune ourselves to the ball flight, just with the mid-iron to start with, 3/4 swings, 75% tempo, playing around with the shape, watching the ball flight. How often are you raking the next ball before you've even noticed where that ball's gone and where it landed? Even watching it spin when it lands. Where does it go? Sometimes it's going to be a bit of an uneven bounce. That's okay. Ground might be a bit bumpy, but quite often they'll be bouncing in a similar direction. So that's telling you what kind of spin is on the ball. That's straight away giving you an idea of that face to path, but the curve should do that. But sometimes we're not picking up on the curve, so look at how it bounces, because you're going to be looking at that on the golf course. That's important too. If you're hitting into a green, you're going to be predicting how that ball's going to bounce. So do that when you're practicing. Start to think about where the ball's flying towards, how it's going to bounce, how you're influencing that with the spin you're putting on the ball, how you're sensing that with the face to path, and these are the drills you can use.